Hi there, my name is Sonnet, and I love to talk about crochet and books, and especially amigurumi books. And in today's video, we have a new installment of The Good, the Bad, and the Amigurumi. This is a series where I like to review amigurumi books, and I let you know what I think about them. I let you know what I like about them, the good, what I don't like about them, the bad, and I share with you the projects that I made from those books. Now, before we dive into the book, this review was supposed to come out last week, but when I went to edit the video, the sound was all corrupted. It was no fun, and I was unable to re-record it because, as you can probably tell, or maybe not, I don't know, I have been battling a pretty severe cold, and I'm just now finally getting my voice back. So if I sound a little bit scratchier in this video than normal, that's what's going on. But I am excited to re-record this video for you because I am really excited about this amigurumi book. And that book, of course, is Amigurumi Plushies by Theresa's Crochet Shop. Now, this book is set to be released on November 1st of 2024, so by the time this video is uploaded, it should be available for you to purchase. So as I mentioned, I will be giving you my full and honest review of Amigurumi Plushies, and I'll be letting you know if I think you should be picking this book up or who this book would be really good for. Now, before we get into the good, let's go ahead and go over the actual specifics of this book. Amigurumi Plushies is a new amigurumi book from Theresa, also known as Theresa's Crochet Shop. The book is published by Meteor Books, which publishes some of my favorite amigurumi books. And it is currently available as a paperback and digital option. So what I love so much about the Meteor Books amigurumi books is a couple of months before an amigurumi book is published, they actually do a pre-sale event where you can purchase the physical book to be shipped out to you a few weeks before the release date. But you also then immediately get the PDF version of the book. So I always do that. So I've had the PDF of this book now for a couple of months, and I did get the physical paperback edition about 3 weeks ago, so well before the publication date, which I think is so fun. I love having a digital copy of the book for when I don't necessarily want to be working with a physical book, but then again, I'm not always available to use digital patterns, so I do love that I also then have the physical copy so that I can continue to swap back and forth based off of what I'm making and how I'm making and where I am, if that makes sense. At the time of recording this video, which is October of 2024, the book is set to be released on November 1st on Amazon, and it is currently retailing at $17.96. The book will also be available on barnesandnoble.com. And as I mentioned, the PDF version is also available over on amigurumi.com as well if you do prefer digital patterns to physical ones. Let's go ahead and take a moment to learn a little bit more about Theresa's Crochet Shop. Now, all of the information I'm going to talk about I get directly out of the back of this book or from Theresa's social media pages. Theresa Kitcher is a crochet artist out of West Virginia. You can tell reading the biography in the back that Theresa just loves her family, and her greatest joy is, of course, spending time and homeschooling her 2 boys, but she also loves cooking, going to the library, and crocheting a zoo of crocheted animals. In addition to Theresa's amazing Instagram page, there is also a website. There's free patterns on the website. There are also paid patterns that you can buy, as well as pattern collections, which are really nice. And there are just so many cute little animals. It says right here, Theresa has designed patterns for over 150 different animals. That is incredible. That is a ton of patterns. So if you are interested in not just these patterns in the book, but also some of the other amazing and adorable critters that Theresa likes to design, definitely be sure to check out her website. Theresa also does have an Etsy shop with over 190,000 sales. Holy guacamole, that's incredible. And an average review rating of 4.8 or higher. So don't just take it from me. These patterns, excellent. Diving inside of the physical book, we have 104 pages of adorable amigurumi goodness, and a total of 18 colorful and adorable animal characters. Also, the dedication, super cute, made me smile. Now, I'm not 100% certain, but I believe that Theresa also has done all of the photography in this book as well. And some of these photos of these characters are just so cute. What I do love about Meteor books, amigurumi books, is there is always a one page that has a list of all of the different amigurumi you can create. I find this page to be so handy. So rather than flipping through the book trying to find my next make, I can just flip to one page and easily browse and pick which pattern I'm going to choose that day. Now, Meteor books always has this section at the beginning of their books that really helps you learn crochet stitches. I find this to be really nice for beginners. There are some great pictures and descriptions explaining how to do the different stitches. And each stitch does have a QR code that you can scan to get a video tutorial on that stitch, which is super handy if you are a beginner. Also, one thing I really liked about this book is the very beginning of this book, it does give more of an explanation on yarn and yarn types. Now, because these are amigurumi plushes, all of them are designed with a more bulkier, plushier chenille type of yarn in mind. And there is a really nice section that talks about plush yarn. It even talks about how it is constructed, what it's made of, how to sew pieces together, because that is quite a bit different than sewing regular amigurumi with cotton or with acrylic yarns. And it even gives you a list of recommended yarns, which I find really, really handy. And although there is a lot of emphasis on plush yarns, it doesn't box you into just using that type of yarn. Personally, for me, yes, I do have a ton of chenille yarn, but it's not my favorite to make amigurumi with. So I did like that it was not a requirement to make these plushies. And lastly, my favorite thing about Meteor books is every single pattern will have a QR code at the bottom of the introduction page. And if you scan that QR code, you are taken to a gallery of that specific amigurumi, and other people who have crocheted that amigurumi upload their makes to the gallery. You can see the color choices they picked. You can see the yarn choices they picked. It really is a nice way to get some inspiration if you're looking to change it up, or if you just want to see all of the amazing amigurumi makes that creators do like to make. And of course, I did want to also mention that this book is in US terminology. So there we have it. Now that we've talked about the actual book, let's go ahead and get into the good, or the things that I really liked about this amigurumi book. So the first thing I loved about this book, I didn't spot any errors in the patterns whatsoever. I did make 6 of these 18 projects, so I didn't get to test out every single one of them, but from the 6 that I did test, everything was correct. Super important, especially if you are advertising this book as more easy crochet and things that are geared towards beginners. You want to make sure those patterns are right. One thing I also really liked about this book is that these animals are your kind of basic animals, which I typically don't have a lot of in my collection. You guys know me. I like the more kind of out there, weird, unique amigurumi. And so I gravitate more to those patterns and those books, which meant I didn't have a ton of these types of animals in my collection of amigurumi patterns. Sure, I love to whip up weird monsters, but every now and then I want to make just a cute little duck. I want to make a simple little puppy. So now I have all these more basic designs. It's going to be a little bit easier to create projects that I know everyone will like if I'm gifting them or whatnot, versus the kind of weird stuff that I am gravitated to because I'm kind of a weirdo. Something else I love, the size. These amigurumi are a really nice size depending on the yarn that you choose. If you choose a plushie yarn, they're going to be a nice big size. And that's one thing I do like about the plushie yarns is you have a more simple, basic, fast pattern, but when you make it up in plushie yarn, they turn out to be pretty pretty big. And who doesn't like a big, cuddly, soft, cozy plushie to sleep with? But also when working them up in my favorite cotton yarn, they weren't too big or too complicated to where it was overwhelming. They were nice palm-sized amigurumi, which is my preferred amigurumi. Yes, I do like to make big ones here and there, but I like more of those simple patterns that are kind of in the middle between small and no detail and massive and a lot of detail. Another thing that I love about this book, and I find this is very important when it comes to patterns, especially if you are a beginning crochet artist, and that is there are a ton of progress photos. There's lots of photos on how to sew on face details. There's photos of what pieces should look like before you sew them on, and just really good progress photos that could be very, very helpful, especially if you're new to the world of amigurumi. Another thing that I love about these patterns is they're fast. They are super duper fast. I don't think any of these patterns took more than a couple of hours to create, which is really important for someone like me. If I am really trying to get a ton of amigurumi made for a video or for whatever reason, having fast working amigurumi is super important and it makes me less stressed. So I love how fast these work out, and I can create an amigurumi in a day and feel productive and feel proud of myself. It was a good day because I got an amigurumi made. I love that this book also included instructions for using cotton yarn. Now, this book is intended to be made using chunky yarn. It even says on the front, crochet projects with chunky yarn, but they understand that not everybody does that. So they did include assembly and crochet instructions for those of us that do like to crochet with cotton, or even those that like to crochet with acrylic yarn. It was just really nice to see those other instructions in there, even though I did make most of them in plushie yarn. It was just really nice. And the last thing I did like about this book is it's intended for plushie yarn. Now I do have a ton of Parfait Chunky, and since I don't use it all the time, it just kind of sits there, and then I feel guilty that I haven't used the yarn. So it's nice to actually have patterns that are intended to be crocheted up in plushie chenille yarn. That way I can use up some of that stash and not feel so guilty about having a shelf full of yarn that I don't use. And did I mention they were adorable? My gosh, these amigurumi are adorable. So if you like cute crochet, this is for you for sure. Now that we've talked about the good, let's go ahead and get into the bad. Now, quick disclaimer before we get into the bad. Okay, first things first. When I say the bad, I don't mean that these are bad patterns. The bad is just really for the title. It's a little bit more dramatic than amigurumi book review. What I liked, things that I didn't like as much, and the amigurumi I made. You know, so usually in this section, I talk about parts of the pattern that I personally, as me, Sonnet, an individual crochet maker, just don't tend to like to do when it comes to crocheting. Now, we are all different, and we all have our likes and our dislikes when it comes to crocheting and amigurumi making, and it is okay, and it's amazing, and it should be celebrated that we all have our own opinions on things. What I might love, you might hate. What I might want nothing to do with might be your favorite thing to do when it comes to amigurumi making, and it is all valid, it is all wonderful, and we can all be amigurumi making friends together, regardless of our opinions on what we like to do and what we don't like to do. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the bad. And you know what? There's not a lot. There is not a lot about this book to not like. But that's not fair, is it? We need to have some things that are not my favorite when it comes to these amigurumi. And it kind of goes back to one of the good things I like about this book, the fact that they are very simple, very common characters can also be not so great to somebody like me that doesn't like, to crochet very normal, common things. So while yes, I am very excited to have this one in my collection so that I can have these more normal patterns. At the same time, I can see myself maybe passing over this one a little bit more often because they are a little bit more normal. And I hate to say this word, they are a little bit more trendy. I love that these animals are basic because I finally can start making some basic animals, because who doesn't love those basic animals? But at the same time, I do find myself maybe passing over this one because I need something a little bit more unique. And if I had one more negative thing to say about this book, all I would say is there is some sewing involved. Now, that's not necessarily the biggest issue for me. I don't mind sewing too much, but just keep that in mind if you are into low sew or no sew patterns. This one did have, a fair amount of sewing to it, nothing extreme, but it is a little bit more sewing involved than some of the other kind of beginner amigurumi projects. That's really about it for the bad though. There was really nothing about these patterns that I found myself really frustrated with. I was really happy crocheting up these patterns the whole time I was crocheting from this book. And I found myself just smiling because everything was so cute. So now that we discussed the things I don't like as much about the book, let's go ahead and talk about the amigurumi. As I mentioned, I did crochet 6 of these patterns and I only have 5 of them with me today. So as soon as I finished recording that first version of this review, I then actually shipped off one of those amigurumi. So that one is no longer with me. It is now happily living in its forever home, and it is so happy there and it is so well loved, which is good to know. So I'm going to go ahead and actually include video of me talking about this amigurumi from my old video, but I'm going to be doing a voiceover. So don't get confused. The audio is not out of sync. This is just the old footage, but I removed the corrupted audio and just doing a voiceover, if that makes sense. First one here is Binks the Bat. Now I did choose to crochet Binks the Bat out of Bernat blanket yarn. So he did turn out to be the biggest one of the amigurumis that I made. Because it was Halloween time, I just had to make this darling little bat. It worked up super fast. One of the quickest of the amigurumi, if I remember correctly. And I did make my eyes, so I did use some shimmery paints to paint the eyes myself. They turned out super cute. And yeah, he just turned out so fun. I love Binks and I will probably be making another one. As I mentioned, he was the birthday present of a friend, and so he's now in his forever home and he is so happy there, and I hope he's doing well. Maybe he's watching. Hi, Binks. But that was the first one that I made, Binks the Bat. The next one that I made is Eli the Elephant. So this was actually the first one that I made, and oh my gosh, I love him. He is, like I said, that really nice size where it's not too big, but it's a nice kind of a cuddly plushie size. My kiddo has been wanting him really badly. He is super cute, super sweet. I did paint his eyes as well, so he has some glittery green eyes. There is only one thing about Eli the Elephant here. Oh my gosh, look at his little tail. I forgot this little detail. Isn't that so cute? But there is one little thing about Eli here that just seems to always happen to me for some reason, and that is I ran out of yarn. So I did use Parfait Chunky in the color Seal, and I ran out of that color before I got to his legs. So I ordered more from Premier. But of course, when I got that new skein of Seal, the dye lot was different, and so therefore the gray is different. So this first dye lot, you could tell, is definitely more of like a cooler gray, whereas his legs are more of a neutral gray. It's not so intense that I think you would notice like right off the bat, but it is a little bit noticeable that the two grays are just a little bit off. But regardless, I still love Eli here, and he is so soft and cozy, and his little backstory is super cute. He likes to take care of flowers, and he's gotten really good at picking up just the right amount of water with his trunk to perfectly water each and every one of his plants, and I just think that is adorable. So that was the second one, which is Eli. So the third amigurumi is Gloria the Goldfish. When I saw that goldfish on the cover, I knew that was one I was making. I just had to make Gloria the goldfish. Super duper cute. Look at her. Now I did use glitter safety eyes for this one, and I just love her. Gloria worked up super fast, super quick. I love it. And she's just so sweet. But yeah, not much to say about Gloria, just besides the fact that she is really darling. And I had a really good time making her. And I probably will be making more goldfish and not just goldfish, but any color fish, because this pattern was that quick and that cute. And the last of the plushie amigurumi that I made is Dora the Dumbo octopus. I think she's my favorite one that I made of all of them. I just love Dora. Definitely the fastest one, for sure. I think I've said that about all of them, haven't I? Oh, this was the fastest one. They all are fast. They're all super quick. And this one, oh my gosh, she turned out so cute. I love the velvet yarn that I used for this one. I believe this was one of those Juicy Couture colors that I used for her. Oh, it's so soft. It is so, so soft. And she's darling with her little shimmery purple eyes. Just too cute. This one I plan to make a ton of in a much finer weight yarn to make into keychains or little claw machine game plushies. Oh, I think it's so fun, super cute. And I think that people will just absolutely love this little Dumbo octopus. So that was it for the plushie yarns, but I did want to make some with some cotton yarn as well. So next we have a Margot the mouse. So I did crochet Margot with the I Love This Cotton yarn, and I just love her. I love to crochet mice and little rodents. I find crochet rodents are some of the cutest crochet pieces that I make up. They are so darling, and just look at how cute little Margot is here. I even gave her some winged eyeliner. There was instructions to embroider the eyelashes, but I don't have time for that, so I used a paint marker, and I think it turned out fine. But oh, so fun, so cute, and I love the size. This is what I was talking about when working in cotton yarn. The size is perfect and my favorite to make. Which leads me to my last plushie, which is Oslo the owl. I wanted to make the owl, and I wanted to use a variegated yarn. I have a ton of it from I Love This Cotton, and I never know what to make with it, even though I keep buying it. So I thought this owl would be the perfect opportunity to use it, and I love it. I think he turned out really cute, super fast. I love his big eyes, his little beak. Oh my gosh, just so darling. This would be great for like a teacher gift, I feel. I don't know. So many gifts that you could give with these cute little plushy animals. But yeah, I thought Oslo turned out super cute. Which leads me to my final thoughts. Do I recommend Amigurumi plushies, and who do I recommend this book for? Absolutely 100%. I do recommend Amigurumi plushies for amigurumi makers of all kinds. Whether you are experienced, whether you love plushie yarn, whether you prefer acrylic yarn. I think that there is something in this book for everyone to get some enjoyment out of. And I would absolutely recommend this book if you are just starting out on your crochet or amigurumi making journey. If you are starting to learn how to make amigurumi, if you are just now learning to crochet and you want to make adorable animals, I would absolutely pick this one up. The front of the book has amazing resources to help you with learning the stitches, not just written, but you also have that gallery that's going to show you the video of the stitches being performed. There's some great information at the beginning talking about tools, talking about the history of amigurumi, giving you yarn brands to look into. It even talks about shedding, which I think is incredible. There's some amazing resources at the beginning, and the patterns in this book They're quick. They're, for the most part, fairly simple. Some of them a little bit more advanced than others, but none of these are going to be amigurumi that you will not be able to achieve if you're starting to get the basics down and you just keep practicing. And if you do pick this one up and you start crocheting these animals, I mean, just look at how darling they turn out. Oh my gosh, I just love them so much. This is just an amigurumi book that I just can't sing its praises enough. I really do think it's awesome and that there is something for everyone. Now, if you have any additional questions or you need any additional input or recommendations about this book, please feel free to comment down below or to reach out. I would be happy to answer any of your questions or to just discuss what you think about this book. Did you pick up Amigurumi Plushies in the pre-order, or do you plan to pick this one up once it is released? And what is your favorite amigurumi that you see kind of featured here? Whether it's the cover or the ones that I made, I would love to know which ones you guys are drawn to. Now, before I end this video, I did want to mention something that I'm going to be doing that's a little bit new. And every time I make a video and I talk about an amigurumi book, or I talk about patterns or amigurumi that I've made for challenges or whatnot, most of those plushies that you're going to see in those videos will then be for sale over on my Ko-fi page. I'm slowly adding things for sale over on the site, and when this video goes live, all 5 of the projects that I still have will be available for sale. So Gloria the goldfish, Margot the mouse, Oslo the owl, Dora the Dumbo octopus, and of course Eli the elephant all will be for sale over there on Ko-fi. Thank you so much for joining me today for another episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Amigurumi. I love this series. I know you love this series, and I can't wait to make more episodes of this series. So if you do have a recommendation of a book that you would like to see me review, please drop those suggestions down below. I would love to hear your suggestions. But that's all I have to say about that. Thank you so much for joining me today. You are so wonderful. I think you're just so awesome. I just think you're so awesome. And thank you for being so incredibly cool. I love you so much, and I will see you all a little later. Bye.